we're good to go.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm going to turn to the clerk.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So returning to open session, I have a motion moved by Councillor Eckhardt and seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved, the council adjourn the in-camera session and the council do now rise with a report with instructions to follow at the end of the second closed meeting.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? None opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving now to item 14.2.1. I have a motion moved by Councillor Olson and seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved that council received the memo 2024-0052 entitled Town of Pelham 2024 RCW User Fees and Charges Amendments for Information, and that council directs staff to prepare an amendment to the town's fees and charges bylaw to include the Centennial Park Tennis and Pickleball Court, key fobs for deposit fee of $50, remove from the senior membership fee of $50, and amend the summer ice season date from April 1st to August 1st for discussion.
Okay, thank you. Discussion on this item from any council member. Councillor Hildebrand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Director of Recreation. Yes, I will be approving the recommendation you have there. However, I went back to my notes back in December, and my notes were copious with a lot of items that were not addressed there. And I'm just going to read my notes from last time. I hate to repeat myself, but I think it's valuable because I'm hoping that we'll have an answer of when we're going to be having a more fulsome report in this area. And here are my comments that I made on the 20th of December. It is worth exploring the potential of distinguishing between residential and non-residential usage fees for the MCC, which is entirely supported by the local tax dollar by residents. It's worth considering whether towns should continue to offer a discount for seniors or whether it would make sense to simply have child and adult rates. The seniors that are using our facilities are largely, let me get at this again. I'm falling into a trap here.
You look like you're copying the clerk. So.
Well, I didn't want to say that. The seniors that are using our services largely have the income to support paying adult fees. Staff should review the underlying hydro utility usage and the related fees for our outdoor facilities and social lighting. As we're not recovering the real costs, and the towns should be equitable across all sports. Baseball, for instance, pays $13 per hour. Soccer pays $30 per hour. Going over our charges, actual charges for 22, we don't have the 23 charges calculated yet. But for instance, the ballpark and concession charge for those lights was $2,054. Soccer was $629. So obviously baseball seems to be getting a real deal. I've counted the number of lights at Harold Black, and basically they're the same. So I'm not sure how we ever came up with those rates, but I think that needs to be addressed in all our fields. And in conclusion, I said I'm aware that planning staff are going to be reporting on the MCC facility usage coming in March. I thought a more in-depth report would be coming at this time, but I understand that there's a lot of work that has to be going in to come up with this answer. So to the director, the answer to the question I have is, when's the future report coming?
To the Director of Rec, Ms. Van Maven's way.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, there is a detailed report that will be coming prior to the 2025 setting of the user fees for 2025, and staff will be working on it. It will probably be coming in August, and we've already started to do some work on it.
Thank you. I was hoping it wouldn't be December.
No.
Okay, Councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor Kerr.
Yes, just a quick clarification. So functionally, senior memberships were eliminated. So I assume a senior is now just an adult membership for the pickleball courts and the tennis. And the secondary side is, how do we know that everyone uses them are a member at those two facilities? recognizing there's a really big number of people that come from outside the town of Pelham and utilize it.
To the director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So a couple of answers to that, couple of questions there. Last year was our first year with these rates, and we opened mid-season. That's why it was a $50 fee. So we're just cleaning that up. And last year was our first year, and we implemented a fob system in both of the courts. So the members come, get their fobs, and they use their fobs to get into the gate. It's not foolproof, as we all know. And when staff, you know, they are in the park often, and if they see the gate propped, you know, we just go over and we explain, you know, you're hurting yourselves because you've paid, but you're letting your friends in, not paying. And that normally, it basically, it police itself, you know, themselves. I mean, a couple of weeks ago when the sun was shining and it was 60 degrees, people were jumping the fence. So it's not foolproof, but we do the best we can. And in this year, we have found that we need to implement a deposit on the fobs. The fobs are not cheap. And with the deposit, it's an easy refund to be implemented. So that's why we have a $50 deposit on the fobs.
Thank you. Counselor?
Yeah, thank you. I recognize all you need is one person with a fob and everybody gets in, is kind of the situation. And I guess following the media, pickleball is the fastest growing sport across Canada. So numbers are only going to increase dramatically. And I guess I'm wondering if in many cases there's people that are utilizing the facilities that don't realize that there's fees associated with it. That somehow, I mean, if you're asked, if I was a person and said, hey, you want to play pickleball on Thursday? They're from out of town, they don't know anything about it. They show up, they play, they have no concept that there was a fee because the person who had the fob says, well, I can get you in. I guess that's sort of where I recognize we can't have a gatekeeper at these facilities because that just goes against the thing. But you could have it would be, I guess my question is that if 70% of the people are actually paying 50%, I mean, we had this group actually come in and ask us for a brand new paved parking lot. If anybody remembers last year's budget request, suddenly saying, well, there was dust blowing across. I would be intrigued to know how many of that particular group actually understood that there were costs associated with it. So that's just an observation, and having been there, I will admit I'm the kind of guy who goes on corporate golf memberships and have a tendency to go places because it doesn't cost me because somebody else paid for it.
Okay, thank you. Back to the director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just if I remember correctly, we did sell about 180 memberships. So we are, I mean, if that drastically drops, we will police it more often. But we were satisfied with the memberships that we sold, so.
Okay, thank you. So you're saying you're getting pretty good compliance then? Excellent. Thank you. Any other discussions? Okay, not seeing any. All those, yep, we're ready to call the vote. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, not seeing anyone opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now moving on to item 14.2.2. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wink and seconded by Councillor Hildebrand that Council receives report 2024-48 for information as it pertains to file number OP-AM 02-2023 and AM-05-2023, and that Council directs planning staff to prepare the necessary official plan and zoning bylaw amendments for Council's consideration at the next regular meeting of Council. To you for discussion.
Thank you. Any discussion on this recommendation by any councillor? Not seeing any. Mr. Clerk, I will now call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving to item 14.2.3, I have a motion moved by Councillor Eckhart and seconded by Councillor Niznik. Be it resolved the council receive report 2024-0044, recommendation report housekeeping zoning bylaw amendment for information, and the council direct planning staff to prepare the necessary bylaw for council's consideration in accordance with the summary attached hereto as Appendix A. To you for discussion and vote.
Thank you. On this item, any further discussion from council? Not seeing any. I call the vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving to item 14.2.4, I have a motion moved by Councillor Kerr and seconded by Councillor Eckhart. Be resolved the council receive report 2024-0038, the 2024 water and wastewater budgets for information, and that council approve the recommendations from the committee of the whole meeting held on February 7th, 2024, for council to approve the 2024 water and wastewater budget, increasing the water rate by 6.5% and the wastewater rate by 9.5%. To you for discussion and vote.
Okay, thank you. Any council member have any discussions on these rates? Not seeing any. I'll call the vote. All in favor? None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now moving to item 14.2.5. I have a motion moved by Councillor Olson and seconded by Councillor Hildebrand. Be it resolved that council receive the report 2023-0264, the MCC Ice Rink Optimization Report, and that council provide direction to staff on the following option. Now to discussion for determination of option and vote.
Okay, thank you. As council, you've seen, we've got option 1, 2, and 3. Council 4 is not, option 4 is not recommended by staff. So the discussion on the available options, 1 through 3. Any? We'll go to Councilor Hildebrand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report. I appreciate that. I'm going to be making a deferral on approval of this report. And let me explain the reason why. I think the ice usage is part of an overall plan that we need to review. My view of the Meridian Center and the ice rinks is probably different from what I've seen in the staff report, but maybe it's the same. It seems to me that the vision portrayed in the report seems to me it's the 2 rinks are just 2 rinks. To me, that I think we have to create a different or a bigger vision and mission for that facility. I like to see it as a diverse entertainment complex where sports, arts, business, social, and educational opportunities are provided. I look at the Meridian Center in St. Catharines and what's happening there, and my family is very familiar with the gentleman who runs that facility and all the opportunities that they had. On the Super Bowl day, they rented the facility out to a large church organization to start off the day. You know, they can hold up 6,000 people, and it's amazing that they rented the facility to one of those organizations, because there's a lot of local churches that are so big that they need a big facility like that to have an entertainment. My kids are talking about the Bare Naked Ladies coming up to, and what the price of the tickets are for those. But I think our Meridian Center, if we really look at it, could develop and be part of that entertainment world. I see people from this region going even to Europe to see different shows or different things or different events. And these people from our area are doing this. Like my wife's friends, I'm surprised where they go to have entertainment and what they'll spend on entertainment. So I think there's a big opportunity here. And I know that we said we wouldn't buy ice coverings. And I know that I've talked to the gentleman who runs the Meridian Center in St. Catharines. you know, we talked about a vision and a thing that we could accomplish here. And the reason why I'm going to put forward a deferral is because I think we have to have a larger vision as a town. Because if we keep on doing what we've always done, we're going to keep on getting what we've always gotten. And it's good, but I think there's better out there and there's more things available for the Meridian Center. So I'm not sure whether the rest of council sees it that way. I mean, we could rent the ice all summer, but I think even if we rent the ice all summer, I think with ice coverings, all kinds of different things occur. I know that's not a staff recommendation. You know, that doesn't fit with them. But there are rinks that have ice covering available. I know that past council, one of the things we talked about is the basketball courts. That basketball court that we have over there, that's an NBA-sized basketball court. You know, would some of these offshoot clubs be willing to have a camp there? And you see all these kind of dreams and visions, and I think we have to go back and take another look at it further than just voting on it today, whether we're going to have ice in the summer, not ice in the summer, or those kind of things. So that's basically my wild thoughts for the day on the Meridian Center and what we should be doing. I'm all in for a greater vision and mission, and I'm all in for having entertainment events in there and having all these other kinds of things. Yes, it's going to take some coordination and planning, but I think that all that stuff is available, and there are groups that can accommodate that kind of thing. That's my vision and dream for the day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor, do you want to put the defer, I'll turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would suggest that we've got notice of the deferral, but it might be advantageous to have council discuss the resolution before the deferral, because once we have a deferral,
Yeah.
there's no more debate on the matter.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Clerk. So we will continue on with this discussion and then see where it leads to. Councillor Olson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through you, I guess I'm hoping for a more comprehensive report as well, because I think there's more that can be done there. I agree with Councillor Hildebrand. We talked about this before. What influences me greatly is the fact that we've got this. The busier we get, the greater our contribution decreases, the bigger loss we have, and that was what came out of the budget process, and we're building something here that continually goes up. The loss goes up, the use of the revenue goes up a little bit, and then the costs go up quite a bit more. And I'd like to have an answer for that, what that means, because that's a kind of a thing like a death spiral for something when it happens like that. I was looking for an analysis of the contribution margin, and speaking directly to this one here, this motion, item 2, is a non-starter for me because it takes out the lacrosse the club there, and I don't want to see that happen. I mean, they're getting started, and it's an organization that I think has got real future. And you go down there and you see it's just yet another one of the programs that RCW has come up with that is a real success, and I don't want to see that go, especially when it's youth involved. And you know, and even on the weekend there, I had a lot of people expressing their appreciation for the MCC and what a fine building it is, and how big a part of their lives as team sports is for their families. And they went on to talk about the baseball and the light standards and things that we're putting up. But I think we really have to look at some of the charges and some of the items that could be sequenced a little bit better and maybe organized a little better, because sequencing is, if you take everything that comes your way, you're going to have a problem with sequencing all the time. So, you know, I appreciate that the work that's been done, and the fact that RCW takes this on, and they try and include everybody, and they do a great job of doing that. And you just have to go down on the weekend and see what happened there. It was like 3,000 people showed up for the Monday event, I understand, and it looked like they all showed up at 11 o'clock to me, so, but, you know, it's a great thing, and I think we're gonna be making decisions about parking, and I was hoping that we would have some more information that would influence us on what we do with parking, because that's gonna come as a pretty significant cost, and I'm not sure that we have the answer here. It's part of the answer probably, but I think there's more work to be done here.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. If I may, before I go back to council, I'd just like to say that I think it's a waste of an ice surface that you can play lacrosse on a concrete area that doesn't have refrigeration underneath of it. And there are other arenas in the peninsula that don't have summer ice. And I'll just leave it at that. When we've got refrigeration under the floor ready to go, if we had gone on with this discussion, I would have had no problem going for option 2, but that's just my own thing. Go ahead, Councillor.
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, I would take you on an outside lacrosse or inside lacrosse, one-on-one, so. I am undefeated.
Yeah, I'll decline that offer right now. I'll go, Councillor Kerr.
I support Councillor Olson's comment relative to lacrosse, and it's a very interesting comment where you talk about, and I did play outdoors. And actually, when there was the old arena or floor space down in the pit, and let me just say, in the middle of summer, we'd almost died from the heat as players, which was awful. The secondary thing was we also played indoor arenas in St. Catharines, one in particular that had such horrific humidity issues, they've actually had to cancel games because the floors became incredibly slippery and wet. They too had cooling things, but this was coming back to the potential of the facility. Lacrosse is an interesting creature. As I said, I played it. I have friends. I have one fellow, an extremely good friend, who wound up going to the U.S. on a field lacrosse scholarship and is actually still playing seniors lacrosse at 65 and traveling around the U.S. playing and doing quite well. So I wish I was as fit as he was. But relative to the ice thing, I agree. I think we need a more comprehensive report of potentials, options, cost per unit. When I see things in general numbers, it doesn't somewhat come back to me what is the additional cost of labor that gets attached to it as well. Every time we add something, there's always costs that have to be attached to it to a greater degree. And we all have heard the comment, budget high and pay low. So in other words, assume you'll make less and assume your costs are always way more. And that holds true for building anything or operating anything. We all know that. So I have no qualms relative to Councillor Hildebrand's request for something a little more comprehensive. I'm willing to go down that route. I can't support the option of either full-time ice or even losing the 2 months of ice at this point. I don't have enough information to really say I would be comfortable with that.
So I guess it goes without saying then that if we go for a deferral, then we stay with option 1, obviously. We leave everything as it is. Is correct, to the director?
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I would just, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to make the comment, the season's coming on.
Yeah.
We are right now booking and, registrations are had. I appreciate everything you're saying, and staff can come back with another report, but I would ask that be implemented in 2025, if that's the case, because it would be very difficult. I mean, we can adjust everything accordingly, but to not make any decision right now would be a difficult situation.
Yes, exactly. Council, go ahead, Councilor Wade. I'm sorry.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. I agree that we have to make a decision on this right now. What our future looks like with respect to the MCC. We can have a report later on. To be blunt, we're not going to get bare naked ladies coming in there. The band.
Yeah, you are talking about the band, okay.
For a capacity of hopefully 2,000 people, the ticket prices would have to be through the roof. They would. And, you know, there's other things that can be done, but really, what we've got to look at is we've got a home show coming up. We've got Pelham Art Festival coming up in April. We got lacrosse playing in there this year that I'm not ready to kick them to the curb. And in addition to that, we've got the summer camps that are utilizing this facility. So if we put ice in there, none of those things can happen. So I understand that there's more to talk about. I don't agree with the deferral. I agree that we should be talking about the future of the facility and what else we can do with the facility at another time. But right now, we're dealing with something that has to be dealt with immediately. And quite frankly, I'm fine with option one. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. And I agree with you. I think the clock is ticking, as the director mentioned. So whether, I think another report is on the will of council. Can we expand the use? But right now, I think we have to discuss 1, 2, or 3. Council Wink has just gone with option 1. Further discussion. Councilor Nesna.
Yes, thank you. Just comments, no questions. So at first glance, certainly when you first read it, you think, oh, let's go with option 3, retain ice year-round for both ice pads, because, you know, we are working with a facility that is in a loss situation. We're losing money on it, or I guess not breaking even yet. But on the other hand, we're providing wonderful service to our residents in the town, and offsetting that with tax dollars. So that's fine. But sure, my first instinct was let's go get them ice year round, jack up those summer rates and makes lots of profit. But then on the other hand, we also have these, on Monday there I was at the MCC and sitting across from the lacrosse booth, who they've got their registration, they had their gold up, they had their green up, they were all pumped accepting registrations. And so it is a sport that is growing. The Rock is very popular in terms of professional box lacrosse. So I think we would be short-sighted to put an end to the Pelham lacrosse. I think we need to support them this year for sure, as well as the home show and the art show. I do think that those two events could be maybe used. I'm not sure if the gyms would be big enough for those to be run, but looking at something of that for the future. But for this year, I too would be supporting option 1. Just leave it status quo and then do some research. I support Councillor Hildebrand in saying, you know, maybe we need to get that vision a little larger to bring in some more robust money-making events. That would be terrific. So, but for this year, for this recommendation here, I would be supporting option 1.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with all the councillors that are looking at option 1. I think it's too late in the year, as they've said, to make some changes to these organizations. But I'm also looking at, you know, the attractiveness to keeping the ice in all year is there's clearly $140,000 in revenue that is gained at the Doulaban Arena, keeping the ice in every year. However, I think if you put ice in the other arena, I don't think we're going to double that to 280. I think what's going to happen is you're going to lose because you've got 2 rinks, so it's going to shift over. And so I think personally opinion that the Doulaban revenue would drop, the Acipitor would come up, and would probably even out to where it is. But then we've got all that cost associated with running the ice surface. And the downside to me is all the activities that we would lose in there, plus we're losing the opportunity as constable, sorry, I've promoted you, Bob. Councillor Hildebrand, you know, it's maybe eliminating this opportunity to look at future uses of the MCC if we vote to keep ice in year-round. So I would be promoting and voting for option number 1.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Any other discussion on this side? Go ahead, Counselor.
I agree with my fellow councilors. I wasn't trying to change anything for this year, to be honest with you. I was looking at a future vision. So
Okay.
whether the deferral had nothing to do, it had to do with making a decision whether we change what we're doing now versus what we're going to do in the future.
Excellent. And while you have the floor, what would your option be?
Well, my option would be option 1.
Okay.
But next council meeting, I'm going to be talking about the energy costs at the MCC, because it will surprise you. The fact is that when we had the COVID session, it cost us more to run the MCC when we had COVID going on and we didn't have any ice in the rink than when we have ice in the rink. It's very expensive to run that HVAC system, extremely expensive. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other comments, we'll go, it looks to me like option 1 is the preferred, so I'll put option 1 on. So all those in favor of option 1, please raise your hand. And, okay, all those against option 1? Okay, option 1 carries. Mr. Clerk, is that good?
Did we have the vote? Sorry, I was.
Meditating, so.
Oh. Yes.
Thank you. Moving on now to item 17, presentation and consideration of bylaws. I have a motion moved by Councillor Kerr and seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaws, do now read a first, second, and third time and do pass the same. And that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws. Bylaw 808-2024 being a bylaw to appoint the Niagara Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals and Humane Society Animal Services officers to enforce the Town of Pelham animal bylaws. Bylaw 032024 being a bylaw to regulate the operation of cemeteries by the Corporation of the Town of Pelham and to repeal bylaw number 3012 brackets 2019. Bylaw 09-2024 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 4481 brackets 2022 as amended to rezone lands located at 61 Port Robertson Road. And bylaw 10-2024 being a bylaw to deem part of a registered plan of subdivision not to be a registered plan of subdivision 801 Canberra Road. Bylaw 11-2024 being a bylaw to exempt the blocks as listed in the bylaw from part lot control, Saffron Meadows Phase 3. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion and vote.
Okay, thank you. Any councillor have any further discussion on this item? Oh, Councillor Nesnick.
Yes, thank you. So just through you, Mr. Mayor, I wonder if our town planner is expand a little bit on bylaw 10/2024, the number 4, with the part of a registration of subdivision not to be part of a registered subdivision. That's the corner of Canberra and Maple, I understand, where the gas or the auto shop is.
That's
I looked it up yesterday because I couldn't quite figure it out. Thank you.
To the Director of Planning, Ms. Wees.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, through you. So you're quite correct. It's the corner of Maple and Canberra. It's Clarence's auto repair shop. The business currently occupies 2 lots on a plan of subdivision. You'd really don't know where the lot lines are. You can't tell that from the ground. So what we're doing with this approval of this bylaw is to deem those two lots not to be in a plan of subdivision, and they would become one lot. The owner of that property wants to put an additional garage bay on the lands and do an expansion to their business. So in order to do that, so they don't cross property lines, this is the easiest way to do that. So it's allowing for some future growth on that property.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councilor Kerr?
Just to follow up for Councilor Niznik, the owner of the property lives above the office building in the other part, so it makes total sense for them to amalgamate so they can expand the garage. They're actually, I'll call it one of the Fenwick success stories. They've out, another garage actually closed at the end of Maple Street and Highway 20 and is up for sale. So they're a thriving business that continues to expand, and it's great to see in the center of the community, personally.
Yep, thank you for those comments, Councillor. Any other comments on the bylaws? If not, call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Motion passes. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So moving now to item number 18, Councillor Eckhart did provide us an indication that he wanted to bring forward a notice of motion for the delay of consideration of the development charges bylaw from March 6th. So this would be his opportunity to provide council with notice of that motion that then can be presented to council at our next meeting.
Exactly. And Councillor, just on a notice of motion, it's just bare bones. So go ahead.
Yes, thank you for muzzling me. Yeah, I just want to put forward a notice of motion that I will be moving to for the consideration of the vote on March 6th to the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That moves us to number 19 on the agenda. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Eckhart and seconded by Councillor Niznik. Be resolved that the next portion of the meeting be closed to the public in order to consider the following. Proposed or pending acquisition or disposal of land by the municipality or local board, one item, property located in Ward 1, and 2, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations or employee negotiations, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. We have 2 items. Both are non-union for you for discussion and vote.
Yep, thank you. Any discussion? Obviously not. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion passes. We will now move in camera.
Yeah, so just give us 1 second now to stop the